Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? We've all had that moment in our life where we're pursuing a goal or trying to acquire a skill or just trying to make some kind of change in our life. Nothing really seems to be happening after a while, and we have to decide, do I quit? Do I change tactics, or do I just keep pushing forwards? And there's this concept that's in the book The Dip by Seth Godin, I believe his name is. And the idea is if nothing's happening, you should strategically quit. And instead of spending years doing something that's not going to work, once you realize this isn't it, get out of it. But that doesn't tell the whole story. The truth of the matter is, we're not really good at figuring out if something is a dead end or not because we suck at conceptualizing of exponential change. Just like we're not that good at probability, as I've talked about in other videos talking about dice and RPGs. We're not good at these things because they serve no purpose to our ancestors. When you're on the savannah, you're concerned about making things happen right now. Can I live today? Not about what's going to happen 10 years from now or about the probabilities of anything. The closest probability you're concerned about is a lion going to eat me or not? But this video isn't about that. It's not about the lion eating us. It's the fact that we suck at conceiving of exponential change or growth. And if you don't believe me, just go look at your credit card statements and the power of compound interest. But let's talk about something a little less depressing. There's a classic example of working for a month for somebody. You're working 12-hour days. They're grueling. And you have a choice. Either you get paid $1,000 a day, so at the end of 30 days, you've made $30,000, or on the first day, you get paid a penny. On the second day, you get paid 2 cents. On the next day, you get paid 4 cents. It doubles every single day. Which one do you choose? It's not so easy to figure out because we're terrible at that. But let's say we chose the penny doubling every day as how we're going to get paid. At the end of 3 days, we've made a grand total of 7 cents. We're starting to think, man, I think I screwed up. At the end of 6 days, you've made 63 cents. Your pay on day 10 is $5.12. This is starting to sound like a really bad idea. And on day 15, your pay for that day is $163.84. Maybe you can pay a small bill. On day 30, you make $5.3 million. And if you look at the entire month, you make just under $11 million. Clearly, taking a penny a day and doubling it was the right way to go, so congratulations. There's also another classic tale involving a chessboard and grains of rice. And on the last day, the 64th day, it's something like 18 quintillion grains of rice, more rice than has ever been grown, ever, on the planet Earth. It's really hard for us to see this growth as it's happening because the growth curve doesn't look like something like this, which is really easy to understand. You can see that the growth is happening every day. It looks more like that. So for a long time, it looks like nothing is happening, and boom, all of a sudden, it takes off. That's the power of exponential growth. And look, I am not going to guarantee you that your growth is going to be that exponential and dramatic when you're pursuing whatever it is you're pursuing, whether it's learning to play bass guitar or recovery or putting together a gaming group or whatever it happens to be. But I can tell you some experiences of mine. In recovery, we have the saying, don't quit before the miracle happens. And what this really means is the miracle's already happened. You've quit using drugs, but it takes a while for that to all catch up in terms of how you feel and how you navigate life. Because we were taking alcohol and other drugs because we weren't that good at handling our trauma and life. Now we have to learn to do that, so we have to put the work in. First year of recovery, you're generally incredibly uncomfortable. Second year, you're still pretty fragile. About 10 years, you start to look around and realize, hey, I'm actually pretty good at navigating life. I'm okay with this. I'm able to handle the ups and downs of life. It doesn't look anything like first year of recovery. When you're learning to play the bass guitar, it's kind of similar. You're not sure how to hold the thing. You're having trouble having this thing make any kind of sound at all, or it's just kind of and you're trying to coordinate both hands, and you're learning these scales, and you're screwing them up, and it's very, very painful. And as you continue on, you're learning, or you're playing all these scales and modes by rote, and you're not really sure what the purpose of all this is, and you're learning chord tones, and you're kind of sort of learning to play by ear a little bit, and maybe you're playing with a band by this time because it's bass guitar. And there's this moment where all of a sudden you're learning a new song, and you realize, you understand why you're playing the notes you are. You understand why the song is doing what it's doing. You're like, hey, this is a 2-chord, this is Dorian. And you start to be able to predict what's going to happen next in the song. You can hear the intervals and play by ear, and it's much easier at this point. And it's just, you look back and say, wow, that's a huge growth curve all of a sudden, because things start to click. All that said, it's important to remember that just putting in the time doesn't equal growth. You have to be doing the right thing. You have to be practicing the right things on the bass guitar. I can just sit there and play the things I know, and I'm really not going to get any better. And with recovery, you have to put in the work, whether it's through therapy or the 12 steps, whatever it is you're doing to kind of work on yourself to be able to navigate life better. And probably what's the most daunting during this entire progress is you have no reference point to judge your progress. You're not really sure, how far am I going? Am I doing the right thing? Am I really making improvement? Am I following a dead end? And so very often it's really important to have somebody that's already done it help you out and point things out, whether it's a bass guitar teacher, or you got somebody that's been in recovery for a long time, or somebody that's had a successful YouTube channel, or the kind of business you're trying to create, or put together a successful game club, or whatever it happens to be. You need their help. You need their experience. You need a little bit of their guidance. You need at least their feedback, another set of eyes from somebody that has done this kind of thing and can tell you, okay, you're on the right track, or here you need to make an adjustment. It's really common to talk to people in early recovery and they just tell you, it doesn't feel like anything's happening. I still feel crazy. And I always tell them, like, listen, we're in Connecticut. We're right on the Atlantic Ocean. If you want to get to California, to the Pacific, well, you start walking west. And, well, after the first day, it doesn't really look like you've gotten very far. In fact, I had to look it up. It takes 6 months for the average person to walk all the way to the Pacific Ocean from Connecticut. It takes a while. And so for so long while you're doing it, it doesn't seem like you're making any progress. And yes, I know that's an imperfect example because it's linear rather than exponential. But the same principle, applies. You're not really good at seeing the progress you're having because you're doing this, you're taking the steps day after day, one day at a time. You don't really see how far you're coming until all of a sudden you're there. Now, at this point in the video, I'm supposed to give you an easy answer and the 6 things you're supposed to do to figure this out. And there's not really an easy answer. Every situation is a little bit different. So, I'm not going to gaslight you and tell you, well, here's the proven steps to do this. It's going to be very situation dependent, and you have to be ready for the fact that you're going to put an awful lot of effort into whatever it is before you see a return. And you're not going to see the big returns for a while. That's just kind of how life works. I wish it was different. But alas, life is not fair. I think if there's any takeaway from this video, it's that while strategic quitting is a useful skill, so is strategic staying. And very often, we're just terrible at figuring out where we are, how far we've come, how close we are to the breakthrough. In that example of getting paid a penny doubled for a month, you don't really see anything until you're about 70% of the way there. Then it starts to get interesting. And so imagine that with the rest of your life, when you're putting all the effort in, it doesn't look like anything's happening. It's supposed to be so much better than this right now, right? We're human beings. We want instant gratification. It's not how it works. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What have your experiences been? Have you quit too early? Have you done something for a long, long time and it just didn't work out and you should have iterated? I'd like to hear all your experiences on this. And thanks a lot for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can always say thanks below or like the video and subscribe. Do all those things. And I'm going to put another video up here that's just as cool as you are. So just look for it right around there. Have a good one, kids.